Business Minister. Thank you very much, Dame Siobhan, and it is a pleasure to speak for the opposition in this very, very interesting debate. I do congratulate the member for Warwick and Leamington on securing it, and I'd like to add my congratulations to the member for East Renfrewshire on his appointment, and I look forward to confronting him potentially, but sometimes agreeing with him at the dispatch box on numerous occasions. And it has been a very interesting debate, because the member is right to raise concerns about a range of different challenges with pricing practices that consumers often find confusing, they find them frustrating, and they sometimes find themselves completely out of pocket, and that's a very annoying feeling. And I do think that we can all agree that transparency and fairness need to be at the heart of our consumer markets. My particular pet peeves, and the Honourable Member listed quite a few of them, are the subscription traps. That has definitely got me quite a few times. The meal deal where you think you've got the elements right, but you haven't, and you end up paying more than you should. The unclear sizes is another one. The 3-for-2 offers where you don't buy the right 3 things and don't realise that until you're in the checkout. And the one thing I did think is probably a good thing, though, is the shrinkflation of the Mars bar. I think we probably need to welcome that as a sign of human progress. But we've also heard some really interesting contributions this afternoon from the member for Strangford, from the member for Hackney South and Shoreditch. I have the honour of serving on her committee, and she outlined many of the different ways in which consumers can run into challenges in the financial sector. And then the member for Torbay, also a very interesting speech. And so the one thing I want to just pick up on in my remarks is around the flexible or the variable pricing, because the member outlined some of the drawbacks of that and how we can feel, particularly if we have to use the railway at peak times, how unfair that is. But I would just caution colleagues against throwing the baby out with the bathwater in terms of flexible pricing, because the flip side of it is that it allows businesses to offer much cheaper prices when demand is low. It helps consumers who want to access goods and services that they might otherwise miss at a price that they can afford. And it does enable venues to fill their seats. It enables airlines to fill their planes. It enables retailers to manage their stocks efficiently. So long as it's transparent, I think there are benefits for consumers and for businesses. And key to consumers getting good prices is creating good competition in markets and keeping inflation down. And I think both of those, frankly, are being exacerbated by the government's economic approach at the moment, the inflation in particular, because last year's Halloween budget included the tax hikes, the increased national insurance contributions, the reduced business rate relief, which are actually pricing a lot of small businesses out of the market. And these are the very businesses that drive competition and can keep prices down. And so without them, consumers face fewer choices and therefore higher costs. I mean, I'll give an example, Dame Siobhan, of the nighttime economy. According to the Nighttime Industries Association, we've seen a worrying decline in venues across the UK. Recent research has revealed that more than a quarter of our towns and cities that had a nightclub before the pandemic now have none. And 16% of our towns and cities across this country have lost all their late night venues entirely. Now, we're going to hear from the Minister about the government's plans around ticket resale caps. I would say that these risk making things worse. Capping resale profits at 10% may sound like a fair idea, but in practice it does risk harming small venues and up-and-coming artists. It places additional costs on already stretched businesses, and it opens the door to the black market and to scams. So we've seen this play out. We can learn from Victoria in Australia, where a 10% profit cap on ticket resellers didn't stop tickets being sold above the price cap. Instead, it just resulted resulted in a spike in the number of scammers and tickets only being available to international buyers. So the Minister may want to ask his team about that. We've also seen in Ireland that a 10% tax on ticket resellers caused an increase in scams. And then last year at the wonderful Paris Olympics, they banned Viagogo, and it meant, as they are a ticket resale company, that there were empty seats at many events at the Olympics in Paris. It deprived fans of that spontaneous access and athletes of full audiences. So I do urge the Minister to be wary of unintended consequences, to really look closely at the proposals. The government's approach, as we understand it, risks penalising fans, artists and venues alike. It's not just about the ticket touts, it's about ensuring a vibrant cultural sector where people can access live events safely and affordably. Regulation, if done badly, risks moving all of this underground. So I wholeheartedly endorse what the Honourable Member was saying about keeping consumers informed, making sure the information is clear, making sure they're not misled. Let's support competition. Let's enable a thriving small business sector. Let's not stifle it. Let's back businesses that make our economy dynamic, diverse and responsive to consumer needs. So, in summary, Dame Siobhan, I agree that we do need to be vigilant about unfair practices, but we must also be pragmatic. The best protection for consumers is thriving, competitive markets, not ones which are burdened by excessive regulation and shrinking opportunity.